Hello, inhabitants of Gaia, good to be with you. Mundane Astral Oracles. As you may infer from the background, I'm back in Copenhagen. Lisbon is a beautiful city to have a nervous breakdown, and I really ran into my own limitations down there. It was rather rough, so I think this Thursday I just threw my hands up at destiny and decided to go home to sort of bring the fundamental issues that I've been neglecting and avoiding, and perhaps also using this practice to try to circumvent, to really address them and get some help. And fortunately, I can stay here in my father's apartment and have family and resources and the healthcare system and everything to fall back on. So I also had a very pleasant exchange with a local doctor who was named Lars and turned out to be from my home city. So what's not to like about that? And and so it is. Things are good. I'm progressing, and I feel also, um, to speak in more spiritual or physiological terms, the energy that has sort of been making its way up to my skull, and I've been experiencing a lot of symptoms there, but it also seems to be releasing. But it really, it was like everything came to a head, and you perhaps heard me cough, and I am unable to torture myself by filling smoke into my lungs anymore. I can't handle I can't handle it. So like fundamental changes needs to be made, and I'm also incredibly grateful for all the financial support I've received in donations, and overwhelmed by your generosity, both of spirit and of course of financial resources. And But at the same time, I'm also aware that I, of course, pour too much nervous energy into the practice because or the work, because it has to sustain me, and I think it would be good for me to get some sort of perhaps mundane part-time occupation, and be able to support myself also in this incredibly expensive country where I'm born, I'm going to live for the next while, because it's also with these corona restrictions. I think what came to a head was the extreme insecurity that I have been experiencing in my life in general, since I think at least since I was 10 years old. But also just the circumstances surrounding it, where there were mask mandates outside again in Portugal and everything, and that was, I don't know, just too much, too rough to deal with. So I'm back, and I will be taking it easy, and also like prioritizing my own well-being, and I assume what often happens with the work is when I allow myself to do that, I get the work done, but I just get it done from a far better and more easeful and enjoyable place. So stuff will probably still be forthcoming, because I kind of I also consider this a creative practice and something that brings me joy in my life, and if I'm not creating, I'm not really feeling happy. So I will keep up the channeling, and a message will also be forthcoming soon. But those are some of the updates. And Monday I will be doing a live stream, and Kevin will be moderating, and we hope to see you there with Archangel Gabriel. So bringing in some healing on the Monday the 13th, which is the unlucky day in the classic Danish superstitions, rather than Friday the 13th, and it's also Saint Lucy's, which in Scandinavia is still celebrated, and it's of course a Catholic tradition, but there's usually this. If you go to school, or there's usually this Saint Lucy's parade, where the fourth graders, or kids that age will sing a song and dress up in white gowns and carry forth candles, and it's very sweet and cute. So it's kind of also an early solstice celebration that stems from the Julian calendar, having the idea of the solstice on that day. So join us from for well the Archangel Gabriel and Saint Lucy's for a celebration of some light and healing. And of course that was the more mundane part of the practice. What's going on with me, because then there's the Aeon part, right? And that is that's what's going on with these energies. I am aware that astrologically there's a lot of strange stuff going on at the moment, but I'm also hearing from people who's reaching out to me, like about um, really struggles that they're also facing or having, and of course I also want to say that if I'm sorry if if my responses are a little delayed at the moment, but they are forthcoming. I promise. And I just feel that there's a lot of people who are really reaching this kind of breaking point or intensity or shift within their experience where they're shedding something, and that's of course just incredibly interesting to look into. And I think I want to communicate with some angelic, like when I'm feeling a little nervous and out of sorts, then connecting to the archangels is just a very safe and comforting place to go. So let's call in Gabriel, and he can speak about the general energies and what's up with the situation, a situational reading. So love and blessings to you out there, guys. Yes, I wish to comfort you in this moment and to tell you to hold no fear in your hearts and to not let your minds upset you. What this individual is noting is partially an overdrive of mental energy, much of it situated in his individual experience, though there are resonances that are in harmony and concordance with the upset energies of the heavens and the collective. You may do good to consult some of those chaotic forces within you and to allow them to have their ball in a wide and expansive ballroom. That is, if you are the building that contain all these things and forces playing themselves out, manifesting in your life and in your experience, if you are that building, then allow yourself to hold all these forces and allow them to twirl around and to finish their dances and performances within you. You do not need to attach yourself to any of this. In many ways, these times are a test of whether or not you can handle the intensity running through your system without constricting it and isolating it in a certain part of your experience. Because what many of you are experiencing then is that once you do this, once you begin to isolate it in one template or one form, this template or this form becomes a constriction within your experience. And therefore, it is true that there is versatility in the human experience, and this versatility is a remedy for what you may experience is constricting you at the moment. And so to put a clearer framework on what our friend, this dear one, this beloved human being that is translating my energy at this moment, what he is facing is also the lack of integration between high vibrational energies and what he refers to as the mundane or the more material or dense realms of time which you also experience. And this is the conflict that's being extrapolated for so many of you. You may experience this in particular within your male gender at the moment. That is some of this, let us say, hostile energy that is directed towards idea of controlling the world and its manifestations. They are being truly upset in many different ways within the general masculine energy of the human collected unconsciousness. And therefore many of, well, your species in general, but in particular the male members of your species, may do very well with, let us say, soft physical activity. And by this we mean, for instance, walking, the receptive mode of walking and taking the scenery. By this we mean, for instance, swimming, the receptive mode of being carried by the waves and perhaps learning to float or learning to connect to these. By this we mean, for instance, suppleness, stretching or yielding, these experiences of allowing the body to release and relax into its own natural shape of rest. There is a restfulness within you as another part of your nature, an harmonic part of your nature, a part of the versatility of you. There is also a restful nature within you. And so I give this advice, well, partially to the masculine energy, then to also address that, well, what is happening is also that attention within these two energies, within the unconsciousness of the collected human species, are being, well, intensified in order to be resolved. So there is a greater integration between the masculine and the feminine taking place, also between human individuals. But how this is brought about is often through attention of these energies and attitudes. So you may also sense a sense of, let us say, restrictive or forceful willfulness within the feminine psyche growing as something that is asserting itself in the world. And this is also, from our perspective, a very helpful integration process. But it is a process that is also manifesting itself in some individuals as a type of seething rage. This is then perhaps more pronounced within the feminine element of the collective human unconsciousness at this moment in time. These are ways to think of what is going on and know it is because you are seeking greater union within yourselves. And so it is very worth noting that once a system begins to break down, that is the entropy, the force that breaks down things and brings forward disorder in a system, often has, and certainly from the perspective of the heavens, has a certain correlation in a principle that will organize that system into a higher degree of order. Therefore you keep returning to the image of the caterpillar in the chrysalis turning into the butterfly, or even perhaps the moth of the night for some of you. Those are also beautiful creatures and important parts of the all creation, the divine being of being, the thing that is everything, and also nothing, that you exist within. It is within these paradoxes, these releases into the trust of the transformation, that also underlies, underscores, and that follows a crisis. It is within this that you can find ease in these times of upset, in these times of great disturbances within the collective. And so there is an element of rage, of fury, of fire even building within the human spirit. And notice that, well, these high vibrational energies, these ethers, they are the layer usually thought of as just beyond fire in the density scale of the classic elemental system. And therefore you may also sometimes be either confusing or first translating these emotions into furious sentiments within you. This, you may feel, is taxing to your system, but a purification is also being offered. And that purification, we hope that you can also surrender to, because what is being burned away are the husks of human hurt, the past build-ups of constriction, resistance, dominance, shame, so many of these things that, well, have set your species askew. And there you may feel yourself trapped in some of these painful situations, some of these painful patterns running into you. You may feel that there is a pressure that refuses to be released, like the weight of eons and past ages weighing down at you. But there is an opening into something else as well. There is a place where the light comes in, this crack where you find the rays of information, of light, of pure memory is dissolving the blocks and allowing for you to move into this process of integration, this mending of the material and the spiritual, this mending of the masculine and the feminine, this mending of that which was broken, the scarred mental process of separation that will also be restored and set to serve mankind anew. Therefore I, the Archangel Gabriel, I transmit my love and comfort this day. I transmit my support, and that I do as one face of the eternal divine, the voice that speaks to you, declaring his will unto you, that infinite, radiant source of loving energy, the divine maternal force that gives birth to all creation and this universe. May unity find you in this moment and in all. Peace, blessed you be.